Howdy all. Welcome to Lex Lives. I think it's time to play a little 7 Days to Die. Get out of here, zombie. I I recorded an episode and then discovered that during my Windows update, Windows had changed microphone settings, and so OBS decided that I had no microphone, and Discord decided that my PlayStation 5 controller was my microphone. So I had no sound. Oh. Jumpy boy. Here's a zombie right in front of you. You might want to... You're gonna die, man. Yep. That's what you get for not stabbing. I don't know what I'm supposed to do there. My guy decided that this was the moment that he no longer had stamina. So, I am in need of food and water. Whoops, get out of there. And so that's what I was out there doing. I was looking for, not food or water, I was looking for niter. So that I could start building... actually, you know what? That's a lot of egg. Might be able to snag in some food with that. But yeah, I was looking for niter to build some farm plots, is my plan. And, strangely, I can't find any. I can't find any niter out there for some reason. Actually, I can't find anything out there. Bacon and eggs, please. As many as you can make. Alright. And then we'll check the roof for some more water. And then we'll check my inventory for... Oh, I really don't have yucca. Wow. Never mind. I was going to see about brewing up some yucca juice. But that's not happening. Been a little cranky in my shoulder neck today. I made it out to the pharmacy yesterday and got my shots for the winter. I haven't done that in a couple of years. I've had real bad luck of okay, so this is my thought process. I don't want to take them too early because I often don't get sick until like March. Or into February, right? And so I want to get in there and get them, and then, but I don't want it to be like go in September And then by the time we get to February, right, it's like, oh yeah, you got them in September. We're done now. And so that's my thought process. And it might not be a good one, but that's the one I have. And so the last, what is this? The last 3 years, I have gotten either COVID or the flu at Thanksgiving. There's an iron. Okay, that's a good sign because I wandered around for a half hour in the dark looking for any kind of stone that wasn't just stone. And all I saw was stone. That's the first one I've seen not stone since I started looking, specifically for niter. So it's a good sign that maybe somewhere out here might be what I'm looking for. But yeah, so I don't know, just like, and then last year was just dog awful. It was the worst. It was I think I got sick at Thanksgiving and then no, I think I got sick before Thanksgiving and then I was mostly better by Thanksgiving. And then I think I had a dentist appointment at the beginning of December and I was sick again by the time my dentist appointment came around. And then it just didn't stop until like March. I'd get sick, I'd get better, I'd get sick, I'd get better, I'd get sick, I'd get better. COVID and flu too, and it was terrible. So this year, hopefully, although it feels like I slipped on my shoulder wrong, and it's up in my neck a little bit. Um, which don't appreciate. I woke up this morning. Who we can? I woke up this afternoon. Um, I I was up until almost 4, playing games and reading last night. I'm done with work for the week. I can goof off now for a couple of days. And I uh so I got up and I stretched a little bit, and that left shoulder where I got my shots is just like crack pop pow. I'm like, oh no, that's not good. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be swollen a little bit today and sore and stiff. Yeah, it was I don't know, the guy who was giving us our shots, he was very chatty and he was like, "Oh, you guys got any big?" Because I went with my sister and brother-in-law. The nephew is in bowling league, and so he got dropped off for bowling practice, and it's like, "Hey, you want to go get your shots?" I'm like, "Yes, let's go." And so we all went, and uh, he was just like, "So what are y'all doing this weekend?" I'm like, "You know what? This is the reason I don't like to go places that involve, I don't know what you call them. I mean, it's not a cashier, but it's that kind of thing, behind the counter people, I guess." And I'm just like, I don't. You don't need to know. You don't. We don't know each other. We're never gonna see each other again, possibly. You don't need to know. You don't need to know. But yeah. So I was like, oh, I gotta go home and work, and then probably just play video games tomorrow. And he's like, oh, I like video games. I'm like, oh yeah. He's like, yeah. I'm really into strategy games, like um, What is it? Europa. Is it Universalis or something like that? Whatever the new EU 5 is that just came out. He's like, I've been really watching that on Twitch the last few days. I'm like, oh, interesting. And he's like, yeah, yeah. What kind of games do you play? I'm like, oh, big into survival games. Been playing a lot of Lost Skies lately, and 7 Days to Die. I said, and he's like, "Oh yeah, stuff like the Long Winter." I'm like, "You okay?" I'm like, "I don't know what the Long Winter is. Maybe I do. I haven't played it though." I know there's the Long Dark, which is totally a ripoff of a book series. 100% stole that storyline from a book series. Crazy to me that they stole that line from a book series or that game. Uh, but I haven't played it, so I don't know how close the storyline is. I just know that, oh man, I almost fell in the river. I know, buddy. Um, not, I don't know. And then he started talking about how he used to live in another city, and then played Dungeons and Dragons with people there. And then when he moved here, he hasn't been able to find anybody to play Dungeons and Dragons with. I'm like, oh, now he's trying to be friends. Like I ain't having that. So I got my shots and got out of there. Yeah, the Long Dark. I think it's the Long Dark. Is like a survival game. I have it. I've just never played it really. And but it's there's a book series by I want to say it's S.M. Sterling. I want to say that's the author. Um, and he's got a couple of series that are related, and it's something happened, and I don't know if it's ever explained. Although the main book series got weird, and I don't know if I like the. I didn't finish it. I don't actually think it's done. I think it's maybe it is done. Maybe I'm confusing which one I'm thinking about, but I'm not confusing which series I'm thinking about. I'm confusing which series isn't done. Maybe. But anyways, the series is a something has happened, and in the one trilogy, which I think is called the Nantucket trilogy, the dude, I don't see any stones. I'm just wandering around looking for stones. So it's not like I'm just wandering around. I'm looking for stones. I'm looking for niter or coal or lead. I'm not seeing it. I'm just seeing lots of little roads and big white stones. And it's not the kind of white stone I'm looking for. I'm looking for those little pokey white stones that mean niter. Because I need a bunch of it to make farmland. I need to start growing crops for yucca juice and potatoes because I unlocked steak and potatoes, which is easier to do than steak and eggs most of the time. Although I did have a lot of eggs there, so that was nice. But anyways, so it's not the Nantucket one. It's the I guess sister series. In the there's lead right there. So here's the trick. I don't have a pickaxe. So I just kind of want to mark this for now. Uh, lead. But that's a good sign. I have found another not boulder. Actually, this looks like niter. Oh no, that was some fake sunlight on a bush. Thanks, fake sunlight on a bush. Anyways, I don't remember what the other series is called, but basically, there's the first half of the series is about this guy, and he does charter flights for tourist people, and I think the book takes place, or the start of the book takes place in like Vancouver. I'm not sure if the Long Dark is in Vancouver or Alaska. Either way, it's the same story. Charter flight, flying touristy people. And then something happens, and all electronics stop working, and you crash in the wilderness. Now, the Long Dark might have changed since the initial release of the Long Dark, but when it first released, that was the storyline. I was like, this is insane to me that it has the same exact storyline as the first book of this series, and there's no indication or acknowledgement that they stole this concept. Clearly, the person read the book and then made a game based off of the start of that book. And so in the book series, what happens is in the Nantucket trilogy, whatever happens happens, and an island, the island of Nantucket, and I wish those bushes weren't so shiny. They keep looking to me like niter, and then I head for them, and then they turn into just green, which isn't helpful. But yeah. Anyways, and so the uh, Nantucket has a naval base, and so the island and the naval base and some of the nearby naval ships all got yoinked out of present day and sent back to um, Egypt, ancient Egypt times. Um, and But in modern day, the entire world changed so that electronics don't work, electricity doesn't work. I can't remember if electricity ever works in that. Um, and you can't. Gunpowder doesn't work. Uh, because whatever did it, whatever did it for reasons, and I never got to the point where they explained the reasons. Because it got weird in maybe the first third, maybe it's in thirds. So the first third is about the pilot guy, and he crashes with his family, not his family, but a family, and then they struggle to survive, and then they realize that technology isn't working. You can't build steam engines for the most part. I think they can make low level steam engines. There's a big thing about the difference between a low pressure and a high pressure steam engine in the book series, and they can build low pressure steam engines, but no matter what they do, they can't build enough steam pressure to get past low steam pressure engines, if I remember correctly. And I know gunpowder doesn't work because if I remember correctly, there's a scene in that where a guy goes into the gun store and pulls out a gun and puts it to his head and pulls the trigger to see if it works. And uh, but I like the series. I thought it was pretty good because they, like warlords form, and the whole country collapses into the whole world collapses into chaos, and it's about everyone who can survive trying to figure out how to go back to earlier forms of technology and form these little kingdoms. And so that airplane pilot guy, he he forms his own kingdom. And I mean he's the good guy in the story, so he doesn't form the kingdom. He kind of gets it, shoved on him, and then after the first part of the series that's about him, then it switches to his son, and when it gets to his son, it gets all mystical and magic, and I found that to be weird. It's such a because the Nantucket series has no magic in it that I remember, and then the this series had no magic in it other than specific types of technology no longer work. And oh look, there's another lead. How come I can't find any niter? You'd think that niter would be the easiest one to find. It's uh where'd you go, bike? So then uh yeah, and so there's like the Lady of the Lake appears and he gets like Excalibur and stuff, and I'm just like, I'm tired of book series deciding that they need to throw in King Arthur and Excalibur and crap. Uh, it happens way too often. I was trying to think. What was I just reading that happened in? Um, oh, it was DC Comics this week. That's what it was. I knew it was something weird. So, okay, so let's see if we can do this quick. In the Witcher series, I like the beginning of the Witcher series. I do not like the later parts of the Witcher series. Basically, I've talked about it before, but I feel like Henry Cavill got all mad about the Witcher series because he wanted to do a different series, and I have not watched the new season. I don't know what they do. I only know that I've read the books, um, and so I know the direction the story was supposed to go in, and so I'm basing this off of the direction the story went in. But Henry Cavill is not my favorite. Okay, I know he's every nerdum's favorite actor because he believes in the truth of the source material, and I don't believe that for a second. He seems like a angry gatekeeper who doesn't want to allow anybody else into his little nerddom kingdom. That's what I get from it. And and so the Witcher series, the first two books are all about Geralt. Okay, and then the third book, oh, there's Niter, kind of stops being about Geralt, and it switches to being about Ciri. And I mean, Geralt's still in it, and he's still a major player in it, but now they're doing things for Ciri instead of Geralt. Okay, and I have not played all the way through Witcher 2. I've never played Witcher 3. So I don't know what they did in there. I do know that the Witcher games do not take place in the books. So the games are like an alternate. Okay, from my point of view, I have not read the last couple Witcher books. Okay, I can harvest niter with this stone axe. That's what I was curious about. Um, and so in the Witcher, you got short stories about Geralt, short stories about Geralt, and then we start an actual storyline. And the actual storyline is pretty good up until they blow up the tower at the end of book 3 or 4, somewhere in there. Whenever they blow up the tower, which I believe is the end of season 3. I don't think I finished season 3 of The Witcher. Um, Not because I didn't like it, just because I got distracted and haven't gone back to it. So, uh, So after that, the story goes weird, and Ciri starts hopping between worlds, and then they get to a point in there where they just throw in King Arthur and the knights, and I'm like, ugh, I don't like it. Lady of the Lake is in there and stuff. I'm like, stop bringing the Lady of the Lake into every fantasy story. I get that the King Arthur legend is like this big fantasy story from olden days of yore. You might as well just start throwing Beowulf into every story. Honestly, it's why is the Lady of the Lake so important to every fantasy story? I don't get it. I don't like it. I mean, I do. I like the King Arthur legend. Okay, don't get me wrong. I just don't understand why everybody thinks they need to incorporate it into their fantasy stories. Stop bringing in the Lady of the Lake. Okay, just stop it. Get your own story. And so yeah, so whatever series that is by Sterling, if it's Sterling, that's what he does. He brings in the Lady of the Lake. She gives him the magic sword, right? And I kind of stopped reading it at that point. I need to go back to it, but and then we're reading the DC Comics this week, and they just got this weird story where it's really hard to explain, but there's a thing called the Green. DC's got this concept in their comics where there's an overarching force behind everything. So like the speed force is what makes Flash move fast and be able to travel through time. And then there's like the slow force, and there's I don't know, all the different kinds of forces. Well, one of the forces is called the Green, and it is what empowers all plant life. But there's like thinking trees called the Parliament of Trees that rule the Green. And then like Swamp Thing is the avatar of the Green. Well, now they've kind of turned Poison Ivy into a member of the Parliament. Well, not the Parliament, but a member of the Green. And so she in the comics right now, I'm not a big fan of their current story arc with Poison Ivy, but she's gone into Slaughter Swamp, which is near Gotham, and she's found a town there that was abandoned, or everybody died from the stuff in the swamps, and so she's fighting with different people, and she was bringing people in who had no place to go to live in the town, and then the Gray, which is the force behind Fungus, tore apart the shroud that was protecting this town, and so she asks the Parliament of Trees why. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. She asked the Parliament of Trees why. Okay, let me see if I can get this straight. The Parliament of Trees is mad, kind of, because she wants to work with people, and the Parliament of Trees says people will always betray you. And then it goes on this huge story. This is basically the Lady of the Lake. I'm like, why did you need to bring in the Lady of the Lake? I don't understand. Lady of the Lake has nothing to do with Poison Ivy. This is dumb. Why do you have a comic about the Lady of the Lake when this is supposed to be about Poison Ivy? Okay? And the story was just basically, she's a witch who lives in the woods, and then she met a king, and then, he seemed like a good man, so she promised to help him, and so she went back into the forest, and she made the sword, and then, she didn't give it to the king because he cut down a bunch of trees in the forest after he'd agreed not to, and so then the queen, she meets the queen, and so she decides the queen is a good person, and the queen can make sure that the king doesn't cut down the forest, and so she gives the queen the sword. And then years later, the queen returns with the sword, but it's broken, and the queen's old now, and she goes to the witch, who's still young, and the Lady of the Lake is like, I knew that your husband would betray me and chop down the forest. And the queen is like, I chose my people. It wasn't him. It was me. He protected the forest. And then, drought and whatever came through, and my people were starving, and so we had to cut down the forest to heat our homes and hunt the animals for food and that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I get it. The plants can't trust people. Who cares? They're plants. All right. Uh, anyways, yeah. So Lady Lake, stop shoving it into your stories. Okay. Witcher. Oh, I need to finish my Witcher thing. So this is how I imagine Henry Cavill went with The Witcher. Okay. He'd been shopping around Warhammer 40K. Okay. And okay. Oh shoot. I took that out in the wrong order. He'd been shopping around Warhammer 40K when he got the job to work for The Witcher. All right. Uh, Clearly that happened, and then when he took the job on The Witcher, even though he knew he was getting close to a deal on his Warhammer 40K, because he knows the books, and so he thought that they were going to follow the books exactly, because after Ciri splits away from Geralt, Geralt does not matter to the story. The whole last half of the Witcher series does not need Geralt in it. He doesn't do anything at all. The whole last half of the series. I mean, he does stuff in the book, but what he does not matter to the main story because he's no longer the main character. And so I feel like Henry Cavill, the reason he got so mad at the people making The Witcher is that they were going to incorporate more of the games and stuff. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know what they're doing. But I'm going to assume that since they have a show called The Witcher, that they're probably going to clean up this storyline that's in the Witcher books and make it actually about The Witcher and keep him as one of the main characters. Because if you read the Witcher books, after Ciri splits off from Geralt, Geralt goes into the woods to heal because he gets injured real bad. And then after he heals, he decides he should find Ciri and Yennefer, except he doesn't know where they're at. And so he picks a random direction to go, and it's the wrong direction. And then he proceeds to travel south when Ciri and Yennefer are like northeast. And so he travels south for a long ways, and then he bumps into, what's his name? Daffodil? What's his name? It's Daffodil. That's not what they call him in the Witcher TV show, though, right? Or did they call him Daffodil? I can't remember. You know, the bard guy who hangs out with him. And so after he finds the bard guy, well, the bard guy is trapped in a spell of time, and so Geralt then, in the middle of this important storyline where Ciri's on the run for her life and Yennefer's gone missing, Geralt hangs out in this castle for like 6 months or a year or something with Daffodil, Dandelion. It's Dandelion, not Daffodil. Hangs out with Dandelion. And until they finally he breaks up with his witch girlfriend who had locked the kingdom into a single season. And so they finally leave, and then they're just wandering about. They have no idea where to even go. And then they finally hear like 3 books later what's going on, and then they immediately go to where things are happening. But by the time they get there, they have one good section where Geralt and his crew storm the what's his name? The evil wizard guy. I can't think of what his name is at the moment. It starts with a V. They storm his castle, and then they fight their way into where he's at, and then they defeat him. And then That's it. That's the whole. Basically, after the tower gets destroyed, Geralt doesn't do anything important to. Oh, this isn't my spot. This is my old place. Whoops. I need to go to my new place. Uh. But yeah, then that's it. I mean, and then Geralt gets stabbed and dies. And then the games assume that he didn't die. Um, the games assume that he got healed, and then that's the start of Witcher 1. And like I said, I've played Witcher 2. I don't remember if Witcher 2 is a sequel to 1 or if it just takes place at a different time. I don't remember. But yeah. Anyways, so Henry Cavill thought that the series was going to do that, where Geralt doesn't matter the main story and most of the story would be about the other people. And so I feel like when they introduced him to the scripts is when he lost his mind, because they were going to make Geralt a major part of the ongoing story, which meant that he wouldn't be able to duck out from The Witcher to go do his Warhammer 40k, which didn't really work out that well for him in the end anyways, because, gasp, they wanted more than just men in the TV show, and he didn't want them to bring in female characters to his all-male show, even though the author of the group he was filming a show about was like, yeah, there could be female versions of them. And then the company itself was like, yeah, here's some female versions of them. And he's like, blasphemy. And then he kind of seems to have ducked out of that to go do, I mean, I think he's still in it, but I feel like he pulled back from running that to go do, he's now the head of, or the lead in, the remake of, what is that show? Highlander. I'm like, dude, he hops around from project to project like crazy. Like, dude. One more other thing. I didn't even get to the stuff I want to talk about today. I got so distracted and meandered around. Um, I saw a thing the other day that was showing bloopers from movies, and there was that whole thing where they wanted him to come back and do reshoots for the as Superman, and he refused to shave off his mustache because he was air quote contractually obligated to keep the mustache. And then they were showing that in a fight scene in that movie, they filmed it and then they went back and did some reshoots. And so mid punch, he goes from like no stubble to stubble. So they didn't even bother to keep their facial hair lengths correct in the movie that he claimed he had to keep the mustache for. And they didn't expect him to grow a mustache. That was just something he did on his own. I read too. Um, it was, dude. He just sounds like a nightmare to work with, and then everybody's like, "Oh, he's the nicest guy," and he just wants to fight for the truth of the shows he's doing. I'm like, yeah, but he sounds awful to work with. Uh, but maybe he should have gone and done Wheel of Time so they could try to keep that show on track. I don't even have a problem with things being altered slightly. Like I feel like The Witcher should incorporate bits from the game and stuff so they can keep Geralt as one of the main characters in a TV show about Geralt. Instead of the nonsense that happens in the book that everybody seems to love for some reason. Um, uh, it's like that new Predator movie having a 95% viewer rating, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? You Grogu'd up the freaking Predator movie. You had him wandering around with a half a chipper chick and a baby monkey. Like, come on. That movie was dumb. It wasn't dumb, but it wasn't great. It was every movie you've ever seen where the guy ends up in the jungle he doesn't understand, and then he has to adapt to the nature things around him to be weapons so he can fight back against the people coming after him. That is that movie. Oh, and then you throw in Baby Yoda from The Mandalorian, and I don't know, just add a happy-go-lucky robot because, you know, he's dour and doesn't talk much, and they needed someone to fill the silence. Um, that wasn't a great movie. Yeah. What I was going to talk about today, oh man, I'm already over time. I can do this quick. Frankenstein, saw it, was okay. I liked it, but I'd hoped that they would do way more with it than they did. I expected Guillermo del Toro to spice it up more, right? Because I mean, the dude did Pan's Labyrinth, he did Hellboy, he did Pacific Rim, he did The Strain, right? All those are spectacular. And so I was like, ooh, he's gonna do Frankenstein. This is gonna be awesome. And I didn't like the design of Frankenstein. I thought it was it just looked like some dude got some slabs of clay slapped over him for some reason. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. I liked in one part where he had different colors of hair. But then later in the movie, they just covered it all over with a black wig of long, greasy hair, so you couldn't see any of the other colors of hair, basically. I was like, oh, so the one thing that seemed cool about his design you just got rid of. And so he just looks like a dude who's got some weird clay lumps now. I don't know. It would have been cool if he'd been more, I don't know, patchworky or something. I don't know. I just... I didn't like the design that well, and the story was just the basic Frankenstein story. They didn't really change too much for anything in there, and I will say there was one part in there that I was just like, man, you should have played into this more. I wish they'd have done more with. I know it's not in the book, but I wish they'd done more with Frankenstein chasing the monster and their whole confrontation that led to the beginning of the story. Where they're trying to kill each other in the Arctic. That's not in the book really, and it's not in the movie. And then it's weird to me that Frankenstein spends all that time with the family in the mountain, or not Frankenstein, I'm sorry. I call the monster Frankenstein because in the DC comics he's called Frankenstein, and it's pretty common to call him Frankenstein, but he's the monster. And so the monster goes to Frankenstein after spending the winter with this family, and then he's like, I want you to make me a companion. And Frankenstein is like, I am not going to have a breed of immortal undead basically wandering the earth. And it's like, okay, first off, nobody said that. Second off, you did not show at any point in this movie Frankenstein desiring a companion like that. A friend, sure, but a wife? You didn't even really show a wife in this movie, basically. Shouldn't you have played into that more if that was going to be this big confrontation? I feel like that should have happened. He just, because he's at the family farm, and he does stuff for him, and they think he's a forest spirit, and so they leave stuff out for him, and then they leave because the old blind grandfather knows he's there, and he wants to talk to him when everybody's gone, and so everybody else leaves, and then he stays and spends a good chunk of the winter with just him and the blind grandfather. And then after the blind grandfather dies, then that's when he goes and asks Frankenstein for a companion. But there's no point where he was like, oh, look at this loving husband and wife. That's not a thing that happens in this story. And I'm just like, it's weird that they would just immediately go, I want a wife. But why do you want a wife? Because that's not anything that you dealt with up to this point. There wasn't like scenes of him watching loving husband wives or boyfriend girlfriends or anything like that, and be like, that's the thing I'm missing in my life. And you'd think that would have been a big chunk of the story. If Make Me a Companion was so important, right? And then I made it out to watch Logan's Run. Logan's Run was okay. Nope, sorry, not Logan's Run. Running Man. I went and watched Running Man. Logan's Run is a different story. Running Man. I honestly don't know if I've seen the original Running Man, now that I think about it. I think I thought the original Running Man was Logan's Run, which is why Logan's Run popped in my head here. If I remember correctly, Logan's Run is this story where once you get to a certain age, they put you in a contest to fight for your life, or maybe it's just they kill you and Logan goes on the run. I can't remember. It's been years. That's a really old movie. It's like older than me. So it's like from the early 70s, I think, or mid 70s. Although I think The Running Man is also from like the 80s at least, or at the earliest, latest, whatever. So yeah, the new one, it was okay. I felt like it was too sprawling. It would have been a better story if it had stuck to an area, rather than the immense amounts of bouncing around it did. He went to so many places in that story and traveled so far, and so you'd think it should have been just in one city, basically. They'd already shown that there were checkpoints and stuff. They should have just had the city like walled off, and so him being trapped in the one city. I've never read the story it's based off of, so I don't know. I don't know what the Stephen King did with it, but him going from one city to another, to the country, to a house in the middle of nowhere, to driving down the highway, to boarding a plane to fly to Canada to get away. It was just too many places, and so it didn't feel much like he had a reason to run, but he didn't have a destination to run to. And so it would have felt better if there was like a finish line that he had to get to after 30 days, or something, but there wasn't anything like that. There was like one thing in the show that was like, every day you have to film yourself for 10 minutes and send that to the network. And I'm like, oh, that way they can tell where he's at. And then like partway through the movie, they're just like, yeah, why don't you just film up a bunch of those, and then we'll just drop one off every day for you. And I'm like, well, that gets rid of that whole point. I'm like, it's so weird. And then the ending of it, I didn't like the ending of it. I felt like the ending of it was meh. It was okay. It was not as good as Frankenstein, for sure. I probably enjoyed Predator a little more than Running Man. Of those three. So, alright, with that, we bring the small things, lean the light. I will talk to you later.